Nice.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I'm Bernard, a writer at way2indie.com, and we're halfway through the year. It's June, so I'm drinking out of my snowman cup because we don't really give a fuck around here. Another person who doesn't give a fuck is my co-host for this episode of Way2Indie Hangouts, Ananda Dillon. How are you, Ananda?
I'm doing great. I didn't realize we were having a tea party. I would have brought my mug as well. Mm.
Yeah, a little bit of a tea party here. Ananda and I are the West Coast writers for way2indie.com. We are coming to you from California. She's in Los Angeles. I'm in the Bay Area by San Francisco. I don't know if I mentioned, but I'm Bernard. I don't know if I said my name or not.
Hello, Bernard.
Yeah, that's me.
I think we
That's
got
me.
that. hmm
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Bases covered, though. Bases covered.
We're covering them as we go. This is
Yes.
part two of our three-part series of Hangouts in which we're talking about our favorite films of 2014 so far. Part one saw CJ and Nick talking about their picks. You can check that out on our YouTube channel where you might be watching this. But this is me and Ananda's uh, top five lists for best films of 2014 so far. Our lists are going by North American release dates, so these films have come out prior to June 16th or something. I think that's the date, June 16th.
Yeah.
Uh, Very excited about this list. So far, I think that this year has been really great with a lot of surprises, both in the indie sphere of cinema and the mainstream sphere. Wouldn't you agree, Ananda?
Yes, I think we are definitely getting a bit mainstream,
That's
especially
right.
me. But
Yeah.
you guys know I always sort of tend to veer that direction.
Oh,
There's
I,
just
lo-
a,
I love me some
I
mainstream, and
know.
I think our number one film of 2014 so far speaks to that. Before we get into our top fives, we're going to list out some honorable mentions, films we very much enjoyed this year, but didn't get didn't make our top fives. Ananda, how about we start with you? What are some honorable mentions for you?
Okay. The ones that were on my top 10 list, top 12 list, whatever, but didn't quite make it onto our top five, which we're discussing today, were Chef, which was really hard for me to knock that one off because I really thought that was a great indie comedy and definitely the best thing I've seen since Jon Favreau in a while. Under the Skin, which I know you are like absolutely crazy about, so we'll get into that. But like I said, I like it. I like it. Godzilla, everyone's gonna just like roll their eyes at me all over the website. The staff makes fun of me all the time for loving these huge blockbuster films, but I don't care. I love me some monsters.
We
And
don't give a fuck, do
also,
we, Ananda?
no, who
Do we, Ananda?
cares? I no, I need my we don't care. Mm-mm. So, in the same vein as Godzilla, I also really loved X-Men Days of Future Past, which is saying a lot because I have not liked many of the X-Men movies lately. And then honorable mentions, though I don't know if I'd say that they're definitely probably not going to make it onto Best of 2014 for me, was The Two Faces of January and Filth.
Oh,
I don't
great.
know.
Phil.
So both good movies worth like or good I don't know, good efforts. So I really enjoyed them. And since the beginning of the year tends to have some like, that was okay sorts of movies, they were on the top of the okay pile, you know? And I feel like that's something worth noting at this point in the year.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I'm with you on a few of those actually. With
Cool.
my honorable mentions, The Lunchbox
Okay.
by Ritesh Batra, wonderful, wonderful, delightful film. The Double by Richard Ayoade. Is that how you say the
Mm,
name?
oh gosh,
Ayoade,
don't ask me. Yeah. Hmm.
starring Jesse Eisenberg. That wonderful, stylish kind of steampunk film there. Visitors by Koyaanisqatsi filmmaker Godfrey Reggio. Uh, Kind of breathtaking cinema without a solid narrative. If you're familiar with his work, you're going to get more of the same, but shot in gorgeous, gorgeous 4K resolution. Jodorowsky's Dune by Frank Pavich about, oh God, what's his first name? Jodorowsky. Alexander? Jodorowsky? Oh God, this is terrible. Way2indie.com. We're pros here. Um, it's about
Uh,
Jodorowsky's
yeah,
terribly painful failing at making Dune his pet project, a project that
right.
I hope sees light of day eventually. And also, X-Men: Days of Future Past, I thought was incredible.
Mm.
Uh, Probably my second favorite X-Men film so far. I think First Class was maybe edged it out for me a little bit. And then what's the last? Oh, Captain America. Captain America 2, The Winter
Yeah.
Soldier was I thought that was
Hmm.
great, great. One of my favorite comic book movies ever, actually.
That's interesting. I've heard that actually from a few people, and I just haven't seen it. In fact, I haven't seen most of the movies that you just mentioned. So
Yeah.
we tend
No.
to we've gone to all the opposite movies this year so far, it seems like. So this should be an interesting discussion.
Yeah, not a lot of overlap
Also,
for us.
I
Not a lot
know,
of overlap.
and we've gone to very different festivals. So like, obviously, I would have a whole bunch of other movies to mention if I could include LA Film Fest, which I just covered. But I will say that one that I especially liked from that one, and I'm sure I'll be writing about this soon, is Comet, which was this great first effort from. Can't remember his name, not for the life of me. This
So,
is gonna happen. This is gonna happen repeatedly today, where I'm not gonna be able to tell you what anyone's name is, and it's gonna sound really, really sad. But
yeah,
that's what the internet's for. And Sam Esmail, that's his name. Emmy Rossum, Justin Long, really interesting, romantic, like non-linear movie. Anyways, that's all I'm gonna say about the LA Film Fest, and now we
yeah.
can move on.
No, yeah, and those will probably there are a lot of films from the festivals we've attended that'll make our year-end list, I'm sure.
Yeah.
One more before we get into our top five is the Lego Movie. That's my honorable mention. I just watched it last week. Thought it was great. Thought it was great. I really adore that film. Just didn't make my top five. I thought it was, I just like these top five films that much more. But
All right.
Lego Movie, have nothing bad to say about it. Nothing bad.
Yeah.
So let's get into it, Ananda. You ready?
Sure.
Oh, come on. Are you ready, Ananda?
I'm so excited to talk about these movies. Yes.
Well, then let's get into our top five. We're ready to go.
Let's do this.
Let's start with you. What's your number five film of 2014 so far?
Number five is Lenny Abramson's Frank, which is the fun, indie, quirky comedy about a indie band that stars, and I will say his name correctly, Donal Gleason, which he has one of those weird Irish names that has way too many letters that you don't pronounce. And then Michael Fassbender, who plays Frank, who wears a papier-mâché head throughout the entire film, and Scoot McNairy's in it, Maggie Gyllenhaal, really great people. But it kind of pokes fun a little bit at the indie music scene and the kind of the eccentricity that some artists have, while also kind of bringing it around to be kind of a heartfelt like friendship film in the end, which was really cute. I actually saw that one before the festival, but it was in the festival, which is why I got to see it in time for this list, and just really enjoyed it. It was kind of a lighthearted comedy. So yeah.
Yeah, I actually I missed it. It was playing at the San Francisco International Film Festival, which I covered a couple months ago, and I didn't see it, but I got a story about it. I was at the festival, kind of getting drinks and walking around Japantown, where most of the festival took place,
Mm-hmm.
and we were at kind of this like pagoda area, like me and my buddies, just hanging around, and a man wearing a papier-mâché head thing came waltzing out of the theater,
Oh no.
uh, and just having a ball, dancing under this pagoda type thing. I don't know if it was a pagoda. That's the only Japanese structure I know. So,
Sure.
so it was a pagoda. It can be a pagoda.
Yeah, I
Whatever's
think so.
fair. Whatever's fair. And he started dancing on here. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Had no idea what this guy was doing with this damn thing on his head. And then the owner of the site and editor in chief Dustin Jancic explained to me what that movie was about and where that
Oh.
paper mache.
So someone was wearing Frank Sidebottom's like head
That's
in
right.
real life.
It
All
was
right.
gigantic. It was
Crazy.
gigantic. Frank has a gigantic head. So,
Yes,
um, yeah, number five for Ananda is Frank. My
it
number
is.
five, Ananda. I have a question for you. You ready?
I will do my best. What's up?
Have you ever heard of Johannes Vermeer?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah,
I
he
feel
was
like
a
maybe it's someone I. Oh wait, no, I don't know.
Johannes Vermeer was a a Dutch painter,
Oh, okay.
an old Dutch painter, who painted wonderfully realistic works of art that just kind of glowed compared to his contemporaries. They looked really, really real. It was quite remarkable. In fact, modern theorists today believe that they looked a little too real, Ananda. Perhaps they looked a little too
Oh,
real back in the, I think it was it was the 19th century. I'm not sure. But he was old. It was
too
old.
real.
This was old. They looked a little too real. Like, how did he accomplish this? The lighting looked too realistic. The people looked too natural. No one had ever seen. It was unprecedented, the amount of realism Vermeer captured in his paintings. So the film at my number five is Tim's Vermeer, a film directed by Penn and Teller, which follows a millionaire named Tim Jennison who made a killing in the video software business. And in his spare time, Tim likes to build, things like hovercrafts out of home appliances, stuff like that, because he's a bored millionaire. He likes to challenge himself to be creative. And his biggest challenge that he put on himself was to recreate one of Vermeer's paintings.
Hmm.
Exactly. Like I said, theorists were thinking that Vermeer perhaps used an apparatus, a form of pre photography that used mirrors and lenses to do his paintings, essentially to instead of painting by sight, paint kind of like by numbers, to where
Okay.
it was his pre photography, pre optics. And Tim's goal, this millionaire, was to recreate the apparatus and make his own Vermeer. And I won't spoil if he's successful or not, or whether he proves that Vermeer was not actually painting by sight. But I will say it's a fascinating film, actually a strangely moving film, seeing how hard he worked at this. And Penn and Teller, Penn, Penn narrates. He's the one
Hmm.
who talks, right? And it's a wonderful film, delightful, delightful.
Oh, so it's a documentary.
It's a documentary. It's a documentary about
That's
yes,
cool.
it's a documentary, and
I
it's
mean,
just captures your imagination like few documentaries I've ever seen. What this man is able to accomplish, wonderful. Everybody should check that out. Tim's Vermeer. By the way, forgot to mention Tim's Vermeer is available to rent on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube, amongst other streaming services right now. So go out and rent it. It's totally worth it.
nice. That sounds
Yeah.
great. I totally want to see that.
Absolutely. And going from that into your number four, Ananda, what do you got at your number four slot?
All right. Number four, I chose Only Lovers Left Alive, which is the new Jim Jarmusch film. And I will start by saying I don't really like Jim Jarmusch, so this is pretty spectacular that he made my
Aha.
top five so far for this year. Granted, I have not seen all of his films. I will admit to that, but I've seen Coffee and Cigarettes, Broken Flowers, probably a couple others, enough to know that usually I find him to be a little dull, actually. There's a little too much talking sometimes. It's a little too weird for me to like really get into. But throw some vampires in the mix and somehow I'm totally on board and it works for me. So it's like he had to have literally non-humans that made it like really come together. And as soon as he put all those same people like traits that he uses into like that kind of a situation. Plus he is definitely good with like not indie culture but like subcultural like he works a lot with like what music scene sort of stuff. So the fact that he set them into that where they're like just the hippest version of vampires possible, which I should, oh my gosh, explain that this is about two vampires who are married, who one's in like a rocker and the other one is this like uh what do you call a person who reads a lot? Smart person. And
Not us. Not us, that's for
not
sure.
not this girl. Uh who one of them is living in Detroit, which is just like popping up all over the place in movies as this really great sort of ghost town due to the unfortunate circumstance of the city at this moment. But his wife comes to sort of visit. They get a visit from her sister. It's just sort of like showcasing their relationship over the many centuries. They've been married for so long, and just allows itself to dwell on like their romance and their relationship and not get too into the details of them being vampires and what that means, even as they comment on the world around them, and the people around them. So I thought it was nice, and it was quiet but beautiful, dark, very dark, but not like morbidly dark. It's never scary. It's just kind of classy. So, anyways, I really enjoyed that one, and it's got great performances from Tilda Swinton, who's in everything right now, right? I mean, I've seen her in
Yes.
so many movies this year, and Tom Hiddleston, right?
Tom Hiddleston.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay.
Interestingly,
Um,
Ananda, I fucking love Jim Jarmusch,
all
and
right.
I'm one of the crazy people who didn't enjoy this movie. I'm one
Okay.
of the very few. Most people think it's actually one of his best. I think all because I think it's one of his most accessible movies, as you probably would
Which is why
support.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that my major issue with this film is actually something that's maybe perhaps not entirely his fault. I love Jim Jarmusch. I love his style. I think his style is what kind of makes him so singular and respected and loved, beloved by the indie community. And the style of this film, the visual style, well, it's obviously his chops are just undeniable. It's a gorgeous film. The aesthetic, the colors, the shadows didn't gel for me.
Hmm.
It didn't work for me as much as the aesthetics of, let's say, Dead Man, or any of his other films that I enjoy, or Night on Earth or something like this. Detroit and Tangier. I think he individually the shots are great, but something didn't cohere for me as much as his other films.
Okay.
Hiddleston and Swinton are really really good together. I love their chemistry, but I think narratively the story goes to places that I feel he avoids in his other works. Like there's a kind of a middle act where Swinton's sister comes to visit
Yeah.
and just so predictably just kind of ruins everything, and she's a slacker, and and then she leaves in a huff. And it's like, God, how many times have I seen that act before in other in other movies? And not that it was poorly executed. Just I guess I just expect more from Jarmusch in terms of being creative and more creative, because it's not an uncreative movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, kind of down on that one for me, but I'm in the minority. I respect the hell out of Jarmusch.
All right.
We'll
Well,
agree to disagree, Ananda. Come on,
this
come
is what
on.
happens when they pair us together. It's just like, what? You like that movie? Boo. Mm-mm.
Well, I think we will agree somewhere down our list. There's a point where I think we will see eye
That's
to
true.
eye. But
Yeah.
going into my number four, my
Yeah.
number four is Locke, directed by Stephen Knight, starring Tom Hardy as Ivan Locke, a calm, cool, collected construction manager who, soft-spoken kind of guy, kind of prides himself on keeping his composure under duress. The film takes place entirely in his car. We
Yep.
meet him on a construction site where he gets into his car, and the rest of the film takes place in there from there on. Uh, that's obviously a kind of experimental kind of idea, radical kind of idea to kind of um, reduce cinema or modern storytelling down to its bare essentials, but he cast the right guy to kind of hold our attention in Tom Hardy. He has one of the most fascinating faces in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I think you could just kind of look at him forever. He's so interesting and emotive. Locke kind of juggles three conversations: one with his family, his wife, his kids; another with his coworker, who he's entrusting to kind of get this construction job done in his absence; and the third is a woman who we learn more about as the film goes on, and I won't spoil here. The woman being his destination. He's going to meet this woman while he's having these three
Hmm.
conversations. Uh, Director Stephen Knight, I think, comes up with brilliant ways to photograph the car and its exterior. He stays very intimate, doesn't do like kind of helicopter shots of the car. We're in the car with Tom Hardy. It's like this chamber piece, this one act play, not one act play, but a one, yeah, chamber piece with Tom Hardy, he's the only person we see. We hear the voices of the people he's having conversations with, but it's kind of Hardy stretching every acting muscle he has, and kind of being exuberant and controlled at the same time. Loved it. Loved
Yeah.
the audacity of it. Gorgeous film, great acting by Hardy as usual, and I highly recommend this one as well. This one comes out on August 12th on Blu-ray and DVD, and I'm not sure of the streaming on that one.
Okay. So is it out in theaters right now or is it
It's not. It's in that limbo
limited?
stage where
Yeah,
it was in limited release, but now it's just
got
nowhere,
him.
waiting for the release on August 12th. You might be able to find it in certain theaters that play movies late, but
Yeah.
who knows? I think some of the most fascinating moments in this film are where Tom Hardy's character, you feel like he's about to explode and erupt at any moment with anger and frustration, and he's just about to kind of cuss the person out on the other line, and then he stops and he says everything's going to be okay. The traffic is okay, and you're just waiting for this moment to happen where he implodes or explodes. It's wonderful. Check it out.
Will do. I will totally check that out.
Tres.
All right,
We're
number
in
three.
California. Tres. Numero tres. Ananda. Ananda.
I don't even know what you're being now. That's not California. Uh,
Ananda.
yep.
It's amateur hour today.
Seriously. Okay, let's move along. This one we could both talk about. This is great. So, number three on my list was Wes Anderson's latest Grand Budapest Hotel, which I'm going to do my best to summarize real quickly here because it's a little bit detailed. But basically, Ray Fiennes plays, what did we say his name was? I forgot it
Gustav.
already. Gustav. Gustav. And his trusty lobby boy, Zero, as Gustav with another wonderful turn, very short turn from Tilda Swinton in all kinds of makeup, plays one of the patrons of the hotel that Gustav runs,
The Grand Budapest Hotel.
the Grand Budapest Hotel, yes,
That's right.
the eponymous. And she unfortunately passes away, but leaves a painting to Gustav in her will, which her family is not very thrilled about. So, uh, what else happens? Then,
Well, it leads into kind of a murder mystery. We don't know how she really
right,
died. He's framed, and then it also kind of becomes a heist film as well. It develops into a bit of a heist film. Yeah,
yes,
with Ray Fiennes and his lobby boy Zero having
zero.
this amazing chemistry and relationship that just blossoms throughout the film in the most wonderful way. So, what did you like so much about it, Ananda?
Right. Um, I felt like this is Wes Anderson kind of doing what I like him doing best, which is, I mean, he's always giving us quirky characters, but sometimes I feel like they're a little shallow. And I think that in this one, we're allowed to get a little bit deeper, especially because it takes place over several time periods, or at least it's like a story within a story within a story.
Yes.
And I think he sort of allows us to get to know Gustav extra well, which is great. And I think Ray Fiennes was awesome in this role, um, playing a sort of somewhat unlikable person, like really likably actually, and uh, especially forming that bond. So also Wes Anderson, whenever he allows like a buddy film to sort of start to emerge, I think that's like also great. And usually it's always between like that younger character and that older character. I guess I mean obviously my favorite Wes Anderson is Rushmore. So seeing like those similarities to Rushmore was what probably made me fall in love with this movie so much. Um, and then it's just of all of his films, I mean, he's got a distinct style and look, but man, he just like pulled out all the stops with this one. And it's got those crazy locations, it's got miniatures, it's got colors, and like the hotel even looks different depending on what time period they're in. It's just so detailed, and I really feel like I think others might think it's like overdone, but I kind of think that if anyone should do Overdone, it's Wes Anderson. I mean, that's his thing, and he does it so well. And I was eating it up, just totally into it. So
Yeah, I gobbled
yeah,
it up as well. I thought it was perhaps I think it was my second favorite film of his as well, behind Rushmore. I think we're totally in agreement on that one.
look at us agreeing.
There's a first for everything, right?
Uh-huh.
But no, yeah, I think it's just a gorgeous film. I think his style, although a lot of people have said that he's iterating on kind of the same tricks he's used in all his films prior. I think he executes them better here than ever before. I think the
Hmm.
time period suits his style better than any other time period he's filmed in.
Yeah.
Um, and the influences are so great. I mean, you see some Powell and Pressburger in there. It's wonderful. It's an ode to old, kind of golden cinema that I really adored. My problem with Anderson sometimes, I adore him, and I think he's one of the best visual filmmakers alive right now. But his characters sometimes, or not, almost all the time, are obsessed with this kind of formality, this obsession with formality, where they're always trying to speak to each other properly, choosing
Right.
words so carefully, never missing a beat, kind of thing. Which is it's charming, of course, and it's so signature for him.
Hmm.
But I feel like it's just after a while it gets a little cloying, and you're just like, like cut the shit, just to talk to me, just have a real moment for once and talk like a fucking human being. But here, I think you're right. Like Fiennes just does, although perhaps this is Fiennes as Gustav is perhaps the most obsessed with being formal as all of his characters. I think you do
Hmm.
get to see him get his hands dirty a little bit here with Zero. They have some really nice moments together that are really touching, and
Yeah.
uh, if you put those two side by side, they're such an odd couple. Even just visually, those two actors, I think that just was such a wonderful combination.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, so Grand
Yeah.
Budapest Hotel, that one is available on Amazon, iTunes, and Google Play, and amongst other streaming or rental services. So you can go watch that right now if you haven't. I'm sure if you're watching this, if you're one of the two people watching this on our YouTube channel, you've already seen it. So I'm sure you know the delights of Grand Budapest Hotel as much as we do. Going into my number three,
Hmm.
numero tres, Ananda, because we're in California, so I'm just going to speak Spanish.
Okay.
Is the Raid 2, Barandal, the sequel
The
to The
raid
Raid.
dose, you mean?
The Raid Dos. Oh my
Hmm.
God. What am I
Ha
doing with my life? What am I doing with my life? The Raid Dos, Barandal, the sequel to The Raid, the cult following a martial arts thriller starring Iko Uwais as Rama, the hero of the first raid, who in the second raid, the raid 2, we start almost immediately following the raid number 1. Rama is sent into prison undercover to get in the good graces of a mob boss's son. Uh, Following this infiltration, he does come into the good graces of the mob boss's son, and from there gets entrenched in this gang war where that essentially, it just leads to a bunch of awesome fight scenes, gory fight scenes that are beautifully choreographed, beautifully filmed, so cinematic, so cinematic. I think martial arts movies in general are just already super cinematic, but Gareth Gareth Evans just has such a keen eye for where to place his camera, how to make a fight scene as brutal and kind of scintillating as possible without losing his artfulness. It's such a rush of a film, although you do get space to breathe in this one, unlike the first raid, which is kind of my only problem with the first film, is that it was so too nonstop for you to digest anything. The raid
Hmm.
2 has a way more sprawling uh, narrative that goes all across the city, and it's probably it almost I could have it could have easily been my number one. I mean, it's just breathtaking, the action here, and I'd recommend it even to you, Ananda.
Well, I do appreciate action films, obviously. Um, yeah, I've heard you guys go on and on about these movies for a while now, and I still actually haven't checked out either of them, which is sad, but I promise I will. Uh, you say cinematic and you say martial arts, and I guess I think like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Is this like, is that kind of cinematic or is
Yeah,
this
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
mm,
If you just beat it to a pulp until it was just oozing human
got
juice everywhere.
it?
Equally as
Human
beautiful,
juice.
but a lot more
Mm,
human juice going on there.
all right then.
I think martial arts movies are probably the most underrated, one of the most underrated genres out there, and I think this is one of the best examples of it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is
Well,
awesome. It's not widely available yet, but it will be
okay.
released on Blu-ray on July 8th, so it's coming out very soon for those of you who want to check this one out. I also have some on this very YouTube channel. I have a two-part interview with Gareth Evans and Iko Uwais about the film. You can check those out on YouTube or on the site. I have a review up there as well. And yeah, go ahead, everybody.
That's right. I forgot about
Number
that. That's
two,
cool.
number two.
Number
I'm
two,
dropping the
number
Spanish.
dose.
Number
Uh-huh.
dos.
Oh, we're done with that now. I got it. All right, number two on my list is Snowpiercer, which I had to beg
Ah,
Bernard to let me keep, but it does fit the bill. It did come out. It got its
absolutely.
U.S. North American premiere actually at the LA Film Festival on the 11th, so it just made the deadline, and I had seen it, and several others of ours have seen it.
You cut out a little bit there, Ananda. Could you repeat
You still there?
the last thing you said?
Ah, I was just remarking on the director's name. I never know, how to flip the names. Is it Bong Joon-ho or Joon-ho Bong? Because,
Yep,
IMDb
yep.
really wants you to say it the wrong way. So I think it's Bong Joon-ho actually. But really great action film set in a sort of dystopian future where the world, to counteract global warming, has kind of backfired on them and is now a frozen tundra. So those left of humanity travel around in a perpetual circle on a uh, nonstop train called the Snowpiercer, which just plows right through all the ice and snow and keeps them all alive. And in the 17 years that they've been traveling around on this train, a class system has sort of emerged, and the uh, the lower classes in the tail and the upper classes towards the front next to the engine. So Chris Evans plays our unlikely hero, or whatever they call it. And he is in the tail section, of course, and he's about to lead a revolution to go towards the engine and take it over. Um, there's a lot of big people in this movie. I always forget what's that guy's name. Oh man, you're so much better about names than I am. I'm always forgetting names. But the other lead, have you seen Snowpiercer?
I have not. That's one of the ones I
You
missed.
haven't seen it yet. I finally have something over you. It is, he was in another of Bong Joon-ho's movies because his name is,
I'm sweating with
you're
anticipation.
like frozen on the screen right now.
Yeah, yeah, our connection is, of course, not treating us well because bad juju comes around.
Okay, right. Kang Ho, man, I'm gonna slaughter all these names. Song Kang Ho is the one I'm thinking of, who plays
Okay.
Namgoon Minsu, who is this like felon on the train who also happens to be the person who installed all of the security systems, so he can actually get them through all the gates that will lead up there. And it kind of plays out like a video game, which is why I loved it so much,
Oh,
because they get to the next section of the train and they've got this new obstacle to overcome, people to beat up, things to get past. So, and it also, as they go further, it sort of like reveals just how much they've been like thrown into the back to live in impoverishment, while everyone up front is like, there's a sauna car, there's a like sushi car, there's all these things up there. So, um, I feel like it was just really well paced for sci-fi. It's kind of refreshing. Definitely the best sci-fi movie I've seen lately. I feel like more sci-fi has been going towards like a realistic approach, sort of like
Yes,
the, I don't know if you
yes.
saw The Signal, some of those sorts of like, is it real, what's not? And this one just unabashedly is not. I love that. Like it's a return to sort of the Matrix style, where it's just like, no, we are totally in the sci-fi realm, and this is not real, and this is the future. And it's based on a graphic novel, and even like some of the framing, you can, it just almost looks like a little like box in a
Oh,
comic
great.
book, like just exactly how it was probably drawn on the page, which was really cool. And then some of the characters are also like a little bit larger than, I don't know, not larger than life. I don't like caricatures of themselves, so you can kind of tell that only a comic book brain would have come up with these sorts of characters, including Tilda Swinton's character, who's um, she's called Mason, and she's like the right hand man of the guy who runs the engine, and she goes back there to tell them all to stay in their place, and has this horrible Yorkshire accent and this crazy wig and these awful teeth. She just loves costumes. She's like living in costumes in all the movies she's been in lately, but it's really fun, super engaging, tries to get a little heavy in the end, but doesn't kill it. So it's definitely worth checking out. You should totally make time for it. I think it comes out in August. It's gonna get wide. It's gonna get limited release. That was sort of the deal with the Weinstein Company when they decided to take it on. But I hope that it gets enough attention that they rethink that, because it's totally worthy of a wide release. So
Yeah, I've only heard
cool.
great things about that film
Yeah.
from everyone on the staff and
Hmm.
other people as well. Only heard great stuff. Can't wait to watch that one. What
Check
the
it
hell are
out.
we on? Numero dos.
Yep.
My number two, the Grand Budapest Hotel, which we've already discussed.
I know.
Yeah,
Two birds, one stone.
just to, I guess, just to talk a little bit more about it, I think it's such an enchanting film.
Mhm.
I think, Anderson's skills are as sharp as they've ever been. For any kind of like cinematography geek or filmmaking geek who appreciates his, the moves of his camera, where he places his camera, how he, his blocking and stuff. It's kind of impenetrably amazing how he shot this film. Uh, one of my favorite scenes was the kind of, what was it, a snow race or something. What were they on, a sled? It was like a
Oh, when they're on the
snow
like a
sled.
toboggan, yeah.
Toboggan, yeah, and it was stop
They're being
motion miniatures.
chased. Yeah.
Yeah, it was miniatures, and it was just so wonderful. It recalled Fantastic Mr. Fox, of course, but I kind of just, like you said before, I just ate it up. I ate up
Hmm.
every bit of that movie, and I could watch it over and over again, find new kind of homages to the old greats of Hollywood, and uh, yeah, I really, it's my number two. I can't. The only one more movie I could gush about more, and that's coming up. But before we get to that one, wish we could do a drum roll. I'm going to try and do a drum roll right now.
You're so dramatic.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, coming up right now.
Coming up is my number one pick.
Number one for Ananda. What's your number one favorite movie of 2014 so far? Hit us with it.
This is crazy, but my number one film is an animated film for children called The Lego Movie.
Wow.
Us, I am shaming us indie folk, but as you'll see in
No, no, no,
our
no, no,
list, I think I'm among others, so I'm not the only one here. But yeah, the Lego Movie. Who'd have thunk? I remember a friend of mine was like, "Let's go see this random movie. There's like nothing good out in theaters right now." It was like what, January, February, and I said, "Sure, I got nothing else to do right now." So we went and saw this movie, and I walked out thinking, "What? Oh my gosh, that was such a well put together film. Like, not just for a kids movie, this is a well put together film. For a movie, this is a really awesome film." And it's by Phil Lord, Christopher Miller,
Right, right,
who I
right.
think also did like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Isn't that the other
Yep,
one they've done? Which I haven't
yep.
seen. So I guess I didn't know that these
It's
guys
great.
are
It's
secret
great.
geniuses
It's
hiding in
great.
the children's movie section. I had no clue. And so I saw this as my first of theirs, and was blown away with the blend of humor and like not too much schmaltz. It's like touching, but it doesn't go over the top with it. And stars the voices of Chris Pratt, Elizabeth Banks,
Everybody else in Hollywood.
yeah, Will Ferrell, Morgan Freeman. I mean, yeah, literally like Will Arnett. everyone's in this movie. And yes, they're all Lego characters. Some of them are Lego character versions of characters we know, like Batman. And Chris Pratt's character is this like little builder Lego who finds this like magical brick and is swooped away by, I forget the character's name, but Elizabeth Banks's character, who
Oh, the DJ name.
right,
Wild Style.
exactly.
Wild Style.
Wild style, that's right.
Yeah.
And he goes along with her thinking that he's something special because he's got this brick that's now attached itself to him. Because he wants to feel special, and that's the thing is in Lego world, like they're all kind of doing the same exact thing, and um, he's sort of introduced to this idea that there's other like Lego worlds out there, and they're kind of trying to take on the bad guy who I forget what exactly his mission was. You just saw this recently. I saw this back in February. Come on, fill in the holes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
I Mr.
he's
Business or
just
something.
I forget, but
Was
he's
it Mr. Business?
yeah, he's I don't remember.
Played by Will Ferrell.
Exactly, yeah. But anyways, they don't try, what I love about it is they don't try to turn him into this like little hero that didn't know he was a hero. It's not like other kids' movies where it's like you're special and you never knew it. It's more like you're you're special, but it's not because you've got some like extra gift that someone doesn't have. It's like this ability to just use your imagination and
Yeah,
um
communist.
sure. What?
No, no. CJ said on part one of this series,
Uh-huh.
CJ said that people have been saying this is a communist film.
Well, communism in theory is not such a bad thing, right? In theory. Oh man, I'm gonna get us on every red list. Blacklist? Do we have those? Yeah, so really funny. I mean, crazy, awesome humor, great timing, funky music that stays in your head. Like, it has all of these awesome elements. And I mean, that's ridiculous that we keep using the word awesome because they want us to use that word to describe it because they keep throwing that word out in the movie, but it is really awesome.
Guilty as charged. I
Um,
use that word way too much. Way too much.
yeah, me too.
But I thought, yeah, again, I can't say anything bad about this one, even though it didn't make my top five. I actually quite enjoyed it. I really, the imagination on display is just staggering. Uh, the subversive humor, I think, kind of really tickles, people our age, kind of from our generation. The
Oh
subversive kind of,
yeah.
meta type stuff. I think we
Making
just,
fun of itself, but
right,
like
right. It just
slyly, definitely, yeah.
yeah, I think the danger always with kids' movies is that, they just kind of get too sweet, too sentimental for us to take seriously.
Yeah.
So this one just kind of keeps checking itself, making fun of itself, so it keeps us with it. It actually very much reminded me of Wreck-It Ralph. There's so many parallels with these two films. I can't even list it.
Yeah.
Even the ending is very similar. The even the premise with the arcade cabinet existing in the real world, and but they have their world
Right. They
inside of that. They both play with those respective properties in fun ways. I think Lego movies, a little better, but I actually quite enjoyed Wreck-It Ralph as well. Um,
hmm,
yeah, I Lego
yeah.
Movie. The cast was great. I think the Lego Movie. Although, okay, so I'm gonna just make this a bit of a fight, even though I agree with you guys. Mostly everyone on on our site just really thought this was the best movie of 2014 so far. Kind of reminds me of the white guy on the basketball court thing, where a white guy comes to the basketball court and he dunks, and
Hmm.
everyone's super impressed because he's a white guy. And a black guy, there are a bunch of black guys who, when they dunk, they're just like, oh, it's the same shit.
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen that before. I think there's a little bit of that going on with this film.
Hmm.
Although I think it's a great movie, I think it's just kind of fun to say it's the best film of 2014 so far because it's so unexpected and such a surprise. I think if I hold it side by side with some of my favorites, it's not to compare because God, it's a kids film. Not that I don't appreciate. I love kids film. I still watch them of my own volition, like for recreation. I love kids movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think out there, there's people are giving this movie a tiny bit
Too
too
much
much
credit?
praise, a
All
little
right.
bit, just a tad. I would say that. Yes, I'm confident in that.
Hmm. I think what makes especially
Like
us
for a kids movie, this is, like
yeah.
it's like wow, like I didn't expect this.
Yes, I would say that's true. I think what I think made me love it so much is that I think maybe it's not, yes, it is a kids movie, I guess, in the sense that it's about
No,
Legos
it transcends
and
that though,
such.
right? It
But
transcends
yeah,
it.
that's exactly what's going on here. In fact, I think it transcends it better than pretty much any movie, kids movie I've seen.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm talking even like Toy Story 3 and like all those like ones that everyone's like, "Oh man, I love that movie." But yeah, I think it doesn't talk down to us as the adults. It
Right.
doesn't talk down to the kids. It like kind of levels everything out. Um, and it's not even like in Toy Story, there's a lot of like hidden adult humor, where it's
Yes,
like,
yes.
oh, we think it's funny because the kids didn't get that part. And there's some of that, but not really as much. It's actually just relying on a very basic kind of humor that really works. I don't know. I'm
No, it's
obviously
true.
just
I
in
mean,
love with it, but
I
yeah,
am I'm in love with it as well. It's the best kids movie I've
yeah.
seen in a long time. It's in my top 10. I would put it in my top 10 for sure. I think, but I also think, I've it's not like the kids movie genre is this like, just machine that turns out crap all the time. There have been some great kids movies that have come out over the past 10 years. A lot of them from Pixar and Disney, some from DreamWorks as well. I thought How to Train Your Dragon was great. I enjoyed that movie quite a bit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Lego movie, I think it's one of the best of them. Uh, this is such a silly argument because I love the movie
I
probably,
know. Well, and we have to give it some technical credit too, because this movie looks amazing and it's not a
yes,
Pixar film.
the
So,
way they animate the characters
so good.
is so because it's almost like a stop motion style animation where they skip
Exactly.
frames, and
Hmm.
that's so awesome. Oh God, it's
It's
so
genius.
awesome.
Yeah,
It just made me smile the whole way through. It was very funny. I'm gonna
exactly.
stop. I'm not talking shit about it, but I'm gonna stop with this because I'm not gonna win that one. Everyone's just gonna feed on me like vultures.
Oh, love it.
uh,
All
my
right.
number
What's
one.
your number
Gosh,
one?
we're at the end.
A
We're
very
at the
different sort
end.
of film.
Yeah, yeah, we're going
We
from
are at the
the
end.
Lego Movie to Under the Skin
All
by
right.
Jonathan Glazer, who I was familiar with for directing Radiohead music videos, like the coolest music videos ever. Jonathan Glazer directs Scarlett Johansson, who plays a mysterious woman who prowls the urban sprawl of Glasgow, Scotland, searching for hapless men, kind of seducing them and bringing them into her crappy van and disposing with them
Hmm.
in a way that's just only Jonathan Glazer could come up with. Uh, it's such a strange film. It's this maybe the strangest film I've seen all year, including festivals. Uh, Quiet film, hushed film, humble, doesn't reach out for your to beg you for your attention so much. It just kind of does what it wants to do. Unapologetic, gorgeous cinematography. The images that Glazer conjures in this kind of otherworldly Kubrickian film are the most beautiful I've seen in years.
Hmm.
They're unforgettable images in this movie. Um, yeah, I just kind of love it to pieces, and I'm still thinking about it. And it's the best. Who said? I think CJ said that it's the best Kubrick or the most Kubrickian movie since Kubrick, which I
Right.
totally agree with. It's I think I said in my review, it's at once gargantuan and very intimate. The opening credit sequence is just kind of a bunch of slow moving shapes that you're not sure if they're giant or tiny. It's just so mysterious, and I think at the end I did take the ending as profound. I know a lot of people don't, and they took it as a little heavy handed, but I thought it was poignant and
Mhm.
moving. What did you think? You saw this one, right?
I did see that one, and it did make my top list. Same thing. I thought it was gorgeous, and I like, yeah, you kind of recognize like something really cool is happening here. Um,
Special. It's a special film.
yeah, yeah. And I think it didn't make my top five because I am very character story driven and
Mm,
like
mm.
usually, so even though cinematically I can't deny that this is like gorgeous stuff, I think sometimes like walking out of the theater with that like weird feeling a little bit is what ultimately sort of plays on me like I don't know if I'd say that's like my
Makes you a
favorite
little
movie
uneasy.
ever.
Makes you a little
Yeah,
queasy.
which also at the same time I can say that's amazing that a film can make you feel that uneasy and that's also a trait, you know, a good trait to have. But um yeah,
The score to this film is as unforgettable as the
hmm,
images. It's this kind of tribal yet alien sounding. You know, these got these tribal drums as she's seducing these men in her lair, and
right.
this weird kind of electronic violin playing this awful note, this awful melody that just kind of haunts your dreams as
Makes
as
your
she
skin crawl. Yeah.
it makes your skin crawl. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And I've never seen a film that looks quite like this. Obviously, Kubrick, has made films that have influenced this one. But
Hmm.
uh, I will say that although there's not a lot of obvious character development here, I think the trajectory of Scarlett Johansson's character, although it's not, so I don't know, original or unprecedented. We've seen this kind of character arc before. I thought the subtlety, the nuance in which it unfolded, because when the film starts, you think she's just this predator. And as the film progresses, slowly, through her eyes, through Scarlett Johansson's eyes, you see her change. Through a
Yeah.
quick glance at a crib in a bedroom,
Hmm.
tells you so much. I mean, she doesn't have to say anything. And this is also one of the only movies where I enjoy Scarlett Johansson's voice. I just think she has just this awful voice, kind of like,
What?
yeah, it sounds so kind of
I
like,
don't know. Parts of that accent I wasn't finding super believable, but eh.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I didn't. I'll say it. I usually am irritated by her kind of smoky, kind of deep, um, I don't know, mannish voice for some
uh-huh.
reason. But here, it's really sexy, and yeah, it caught my attention. I'll admit, she looks great in the film. We got to mention that as well. It's kind of for any fans of Scarlett Johansson,
Yeah, if you want
you're
to see
gonna
more of her than you've seen yet, this is where she finally bears all. Yeah.
you'll get your money's worth in spades. Here, I'll
Uh,
say. I will say you'll see her body go through a lot.
if that's what you're paying for, there are other things you could probably pay for that are a little bit more revealing. I mean,
Yeah, if you're paying for that, you're in for a rude awakening. Let's just say that. If you're going
right.
in expecting to be
Just
turned on,
hoping. Right. No, not a good movie for that. No.
yeah,
There are other better websites for that, okay?
yeah, you can find stuff, similar stuff. Escapes my mind right now what you're referring to, but there's similar
Porn,
stuff on the
darling,
internet.
porn.
Oh, right. Pornography. That's right. Pornography.
I don't know the porn sites that you should go to, but I'm sure there's plenty.
Yeah, barely heard of that stuff. Barely heard of that stuff.
No
Don't
clue.
touch that stuff
Uh-uh.
myself. But yeah, those are our top fives of 2014 so far. Let's quickly run through our top five. Ananda, what were your five again?
Frank, Only Lovers Left Alive, Grand Budapest Hotel, Snowpiercer, and the Lego Movie.
Yeah, great top five, which I can't hate on at all. We are
Woo!
not going to clash so much here, Ananda, to to the disappointment of
It's been
millions.
such a harmonious conversation. It's so lovely when we get along, Bernard.
Yeah, it's like Christmas when that happens.
Oh man.
Tim's Vermeer, my number five. Number four, Locke. Number three, The Raid 2, Barandal. Number two, The Grand Budapest Hotel. And number one, Under the Skin, which I forgot to mention, comes out on Blu-ray on July 15th.
Oh nice.
Coming up pretty soon.
Yeah.
To close that, before we close the show, what are you looking forward to the rest of the year, Ananda? What films have you seen at festivals that have really impressed you and they'll probably make your year-end list, but weren't eligible for this list?
Um, a couple, I mean, obviously I just rolled off of the LA Film Fest last week, so I've got all these movies like fresh in my brain right now. I mentioned Comet, Sam Esmail's first. Is a really interesting new sort of romantic film. I don't want to say rom-com. I keep almost saying that, and it's not comedy. But that one was really interesting, and I think people will think it's pretty cool. Another one I saw was called Dear White Kids, which is a
Ooh.
satire.
Was it Dear White
Um,
People? Is
yes,
that a
Dear White
different movie?
People.
Okay.
No, Dear White People. I said Dear White Kids, didn't I?
Yeah, yeah.
I guess I'm thinking specifically. No, Dear White People. Yes. Oh man. Um, Great satire about a campus where a frat house throws a like African American themed party and sort of the fallout of that and different perspectives of different black kids on the campus. It's really smart, really well written. I think both of these movies that I'm mentioning, I really love because it's got some super tight writing uh, and crazy good dialogue. Comet especially has some crazy witty dialogue, the kind that
Mm,
like nobody's romantic life is ever like this, but it's just like you can't help but want to watch it because you just wish life was like that, where you were talking to people and so intelligent a way all the time. But I don't know what else is coming out that I always forget. As soon as you tell me to think of movies that are coming up, I can't think of anything. But I know there's other stuff coming out that I'm looking
yeah.
forward to.
A couple. I'm gonna go mainstream on you, Nanda, and
Do it. Do it.
yeah, kind of mainstream. And then this one's got some indie cred, but Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm looking forward to so much. I'm so excited for that film.
Really?
Directed by James Gunn. I mean, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I just kind of unabashedly just eat up. I love all
Oh
that
yeah.
stuff.
Oh, I'm
I
right there next to you.
yeah, I watch Agents of Shield. Like
Oh,
I kind
okay.
of
I'm not that far next to you.
so
Yeah.
I kind of consume everything they put out. You know, and a lot of them, or not a lot of them, but most of them have been pretty decent. Some of them have been like pieces of shit, like the first Captain America movie, which was just awful in my opinion.
Which is why I didn't want to see the second one, but now everyone's telling me that apparently
Different
I need
director.
to.
Yeah, different director. You know,
Okay.
Chris Evans. Oh man, it's the best. It's probably my favorite Marvel film so far.
Cool.
But Guardians of the Galaxy, directed by James Gunn, one of our guys over here at Way Too Indie. You know, loved his films from the beginning, and
Yeah.
I love combinations like that where you take an indie director who's kind of
Yeah.
exuberant and imaginative and give him this huge property to deal with, and which is going to be played around with in like the Avengers 3 and stuff like that. Can't wait to see those worlds collide. James Gunn, although I haven't loved all his films, he's just, you know, I'm glad he's here. Glad he's with us. Glad he's
I
making
know.
movies.
I don't even think
Another,
I didn't realize that it was him behind it actually. Like
yeah,
you saying that is the first that I'm realizing that that's the case. So that's awesome.
yeah, yeah. You know, that trailer is probably my favorite trailer of the year so far,
Yeah.
with Hooked on a Feeling
Yeah.
being the theme of that one. But yeah,
Mhm.
another film I'm looking forward to is Interstellar. That's coming out this year, right?
Yeah, well, I think so. Like right around Christmas, I think is when that one's coming out.
Yeah, much like Inception, I am kind of in a sensory deprivation box right now. I'm not allowing myself to learn or anything about that film, watch any trailer. I think I
You haven't
wrote a,
watched the trailer?
haven't watched the trailer.
Ooh,
I'm not. I did the same with Inception.
really?
I kind of know what
Dang.
Interstellar is about because I had to write a synopsis for it for the site. So
Yeah.
I know kind of what it's about. But yeah, for Inception, I didn't watch anything leading up to the uh, the release. Actually, my wife will attest to it. When the trailer would come on in theaters, I'd close my eyes and plug my ears.
That's crazy. Wow, you were dedicated.
Yeah, it blew me
I
away.
ate, are you kidding? I ate that trailer up the second it hit like YouTube and was like, oh, I can't wait to see this. But yeah, no, I'm totally looking forward to that as well. And there's a lot of like huge films, especially. Maybe it's just because we're in the middle of the summertime and now they're all like bang, bang, bang coming out right now. Like, Transformers and uh,
Oh,
Planet of the Apes and, things like that. But
gosh, I'm looking forward to that one.
you know, I think it's going to be a little overdone, and I wasn't like totally in love with the first one, but it does look okay, I have to say. So maybe I'll let you watch it first and tell me if I should go. But and then Hunger Games, the next installment, Mockingjay Part
Oh my
One.
God, you know I love that Catching Fire. Oh my God, I love
Uh,
that shit. I
it was
love
so
that shit.
good.
I
Yeah. So
told you that, right? Like
yeah, I
that
think
was
we did talk about this. Yes,
it was
I
like
loved it
I
too.
was so amped at the end of that movie. But You know what, Ananda? That's neither here or there. We're rattling on a little too long
I
here.
know. I know. Sorry,
Uh,
everyone. Geeking out over the big movies coming out.
yeah, we're very excited for what the rest of the year has in store. But for now, those were our favorite films of the year so far. We've got a lot of content up about those films on the website, reviews, interviews, videos. So check all that stuff out. Ananda, where can we find you on Twitter?
You can get me at Ananda Writes, at Ananda Writes. Pretty
And
simple.
I'm at BJ underscore Boo. That will do it for our amateur hour portion of our three part series on our favorite films of the year so far. So thank you guys for joining us if you did, and we
Yeah.
will talk to you soon. Merry Christmas!
Happy New Year. All right.